Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer because we're looking at something just totally wild. We've all had those bizarre dreams, right? Like trying to outrun a giant clock or taking a math test in a language you literally don't speak. Well, today we are diving into an incredible project called Oneiromantia. It's this brilliant piece of agentic engineering that takes your fragmented text-based dream logs and actually transforms them into living 3D procedural art. So let's jump right in and see exactly how code creates dream art. Just ask yourself for a second, what if code could literally paint your dreams? Imagine a multi-agent AI system that can visualize your subconscious directly from raw text. We're not talking about just typing a prompt into a standard image generator here. No, this systematically decodes the archetypes of your mind and mathematically renders them into a fully interactive space. That is the whole ambition behind Oneiromantia. And honestly, this perfectly illustrates why a project like this even exists. I mean, think about traditional dream journaling. It's incredibly passive, totally unstructured, and just heavily text-based. You wake up groggy, scribble down some messy notes, and then you just close the book. It completely fails to help you spot any recurring symbolic clusters over time. Oneiromantia flips that on its head. It acts as an active agentic swarm. It analyzes your internal landscape for you and actively outputs visual, procedural art so you can actually understand what's going on in there. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to track a single data point through this entire system. We'll start with decoding the subconscious, then meet the AI swarm, see how it extracts symbols and patterns, map those dreams to data, watch the code become dream art, and finally explore the digital observatory. Let's get right into it. Part 1. Decoding the subconscious. Everything we're talking about today, every incredible visualization this system makes, starts with just raw, unstructured text. To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at an actual dream log processed by the system. The user wrote, "I was standing at the edge of a vast black ocean. The water was completely still. Behind me was a glass tower. I felt a strange mixture of awe and dread." Keep this exact dream in the back of your mind, okay? Because we're going to follow that vast black ocean, that glass tower, and that deep feeling of awe and dread all the way through the code. Which brings us to part 2, meet the AI swarm. To actually ingest that raw text, the system relies on a multi-agent swarm built on the Google Agent Development Kit, or ADK. But honestly, the real magic here is the Model Context Protocol, the MCP server. You can think of the MCP server as a decoupled source of truth. It manages the actual dream journal database, which makes sure that all these different AI agents are always strictly grounded in your historical data, rather than just hallucinating context out of thin air. And this entire swarm is run by a process orchestrator following a super strict 4-phase pipeline. It's basically an assembly line of highly specialized digital psychologists working in perfect sync. First, you have intake, where the raw dream text actually enters. Second is context loading, where that MCP server pulls up past dreams. Third is parallel dispatch, where multiple agents jump in to analyze the dream simultaneously. And finally, assembly, where the final report and the art are generated. Let's zoom in on that third step in part 3, extracting symbols and patterns. Right, so during that parallel dispatch phase we just talked about, the orchestrator hands the work off to 3 highly specialized subagents. First, the symbol extractor pinpoints those deep Jungian archetypal motifs like the water and the tower from our example dream. Then, the pattern analyst steps in to look at cross-session emotional arcs to figure out if these themes are recurring over time. And finally, the art generator takes all that extracted analytical data and translates it into a blueprint for a 3D sketch. I do want to take a quick pause right here, though, because obviously when we're talking about an AI reading our deepest, most personal dreams, privacy is an absolute must. Oneiromantia operates under a rigorous privacy-first protocol. The raw dream text is literally never exposed in the internal storage keys. Any personally identifiable information is completely stripped away, and all sessions are handled using these ephemeral, unique IDs to keep your subconscious totally secure. All right, part 4, mapping dreams to data. This right here is the real aha moment of the whole explainer. Like, how does the system actually turn your words into visual art? It creates what it calls an art seed. The art generator uses incredibly strict mapping rules to turn symbols into literal geometry, using the P5JS coding library. So remember our example dream. The water gets mathematically mapped to sinusoidal wave ribbons and drifting point clouds. The tower translates into stacked polygons with a vertical stream. If you dreamt of a mirror, it would draw a reflected counterpart with a large horizontal ring. It is literally translating the recurring themes of your mind into specific hard-coded geometric shapes, and it weights them based on how often you dream about them. But it doesn't just stop at shapes. It actually maps your emotions directly to color palettes. Going back to our dreamer, they felt awe and dread. Well, the system translates the emotion of wonder into a very specific RGB profile. Think rich blues, purples, and oranges. Dread instantly triggers dark, desaturated tones. And if there are multiple emotions at play, the math actually blends those dominant RGB palettes together. It is literally painting with the data of human feelings, which is just wild. Moving right along to part 5, code becomes dream art. This brings us to the real climax of the pipeline. We get to peek behind the curtain of the exact system prompt given to the art generator LLM. Check out these strict constraints. It demands a complete, self-contained P5.js sketch. But crucially, and this is a big deal, it forces the AI to use the default 2D mode, not WebGL. This means the AI can't just rely on a 3D engine. It has to mathematically project a 3D space manually onto a flat 2D canvas. And to pull that off, it enforces something called depth sorting. And that depth sorting is achieved using what's known as the painter's algorithm. Since we aren't using a pre-built 3D engine, the code has to gather up all the drawing calls, sort them by their distance from the viewer, and physically draw the objects that are furthest away first, moving frontward, literally exactly like a painter does on a physical canvas. If it didn't do this, the objects in your dream would overlap incorrectly and completely shatter that illusion of a volumetric space. On top of that, the prompt insists that the dream art can never be static. It implements continuous animation logic. So there's a global mathematical variable that drives this constant sweeping motion. That motion is seeded by Perlin noise using your unique session ID, creating these wandering flow fields for the particles. This is exactly why the generative art doesn't feel like some rigid, clunky machine output. It feels totally organic, drifting and shifting continuously, exactly like the landscape of a real dream. Which leads us to our final step, part 6, the digital observatory. So what do you, the user, actually see after all this crazy back-end multi-agent math is done crunching? You're greeted with a dashboard. And this single number right here perfectly captures the true analytical value of this swarm. In this mockup, the user is shown that their subconscious activity has increased by 14% this week. So instead of trying to decipher some messy notebook on your nightstand, you're getting quantified, actionable metrics about the state of your own mind over time. And the dashboard visually breaks down those extracted symbols for you. From our vast black ocean and glass tower dream earlier, we can see exactly how the agents weighed those archetypes. We've got crystalline glass at 20%, indigo light, a refracting prism, a bioluminescent ocean, and liquid glass. They are all cleanly tracked right here, which allows you to spot these recurring themes that you probably never would have noticed consciously. And sitting right alongside those analytics is the final output itself, the artwork titled The Glass Cathedral #092. It's described as a procedural quantum shader based on the Wonder emotional timeline. It is just a stunning, beautifully moving 3D visualization, and it was born entirely from that multi-agent system analyzing one single text entry about an ocean and a tower. The code literally painted a dream. So I want to leave you with this thought to chew on. If an AI swarm can map the deeply hidden patterns of your subconscious, mathematically translating your raw emotions into color and your abstract symbols into literal geometry, what hidden architectures will you discover about yourself tonight? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you found it as absolutely fascinating as I did. Keep learning, keep questioning, and maybe keep a little bit of a closer eye on your dreams. See you next time.